And all together they said, "That's good." There was a little pause, and then numero tres said, "Well, this is awesome. But remember what we originally said about sharing with somebody?" He said, "There's really nobody here to actually share our joy with." "I agree," said Uno. "You know, all this great stuff, these animals, but they just run. We set them up to do what they do out of habit, instinct. They just do what they do. They kind of have an idea we're around, but no, we're not finished yet." Numero uno said, "I have the best idea ever. Let's make something a little more like us. Something that can talk and think and create. Let's make a creature that can learn and love. A creature who will love us back." So they went down on the earth. They went to Iraq. Down by a river, they found a big stash of clay. And they started working. They were very intent as they bent over their work, thinking as they sculpted, how the eyes would work, how the ears would work, how the mouth would talk, how the heart would love. Numero dos's special contribution was giving the being a hand with 4 long fingers and an opposable thumb, so that he could manipulate tools and create endless new things. Think about the animals and how they walk them. They're all 4s, but not people. We have a hand, a special hand. Halfway through, they stopped to talk. "You know, I've been thinking," said numero tres. I want to make this new thing really smart." He glanced over at the 2 otters that were chasing each other down a mudslide. I love watching how much fun they have, but they're so limited. We built their life to be controlled by instincts. Let's give this new guy choices. Let's make him smart enough to understand what is real. Let's have him make decisions. "Well, that could backfire," said Dos. "What if he decides to hurt himself? What if he decides not to love us? What if he uses those great hands I designed to make evil things?" "It's the only way," said numero uno. "If he has no choice, then he can't really love us." Not really. If he has no choice, then talking to us, communicating with us, is just a reflex, an instinct, like an otter chasing another otter down the riverbank. So they agreed, and they finished their job. They called their new guy Clay, which in their language was translated Adam. And numero tres blew into Clay the breath of life, and Clay became a living human. The Trinity watched him as he got up off the riverbank, stretched, looked around, smiled at them, looked over the whole world, and said, "Wow." And the Trinity said all together, "This is very good." Clay immediately began talking. "How did I get here? Who are you? What are those fruit things over there? Which ones are the best? What a gorgeous view. What's that thing over there with the long ears hopping up and down?" And the Trinity delighted in answering all his questions. They guided him as he explored. Every day, at least one of the Trinity came down, stayed with Clay, and helped him figure things out. Numero uno showed him around the new world, the special garden they had created just for him. Numero dos showed him all the other creatures of the world, how they interacted, and got Clay to name them. Numero tres was in charge of Clay's meals and taught him which foods went best together. By the end of day 1, Clay already knew that red beans and rice is an awesome combination.
Sounds kosher to me.
Clay understood that there were plenty of great foods to eat, and that he was supposed to ignore the one tree that was named the knowledge of good and evil. Trace told him, "You don't want to know what good and evil is. As long as it is not part of your experience, your life will be awesome." "Well, that's fine by me," said Clay. "This is an awesome life." After a week, Clay said, "You know, there are 3 of you, but there's only 1 of me. How come?" So the Trinity decided to make another person to keep Clay company and to help figure out how the world worked. "You know," they said, "we did such a good job on Clay, we don't need to start from scratch. Let's just take one of Clay's ribs and do a few interesting modifications." So they put Clay to sleep on the riverbank, and they took one of his ribs, and they made a woman. And Clay woke up, he opened his eyes, he stretched his arms, he looked around, and he saw the world. Wow. 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 When he got his breath back, he asked, "What's your name?" "I don't have a name yet," she said. "What would you like to call me?" "How about soulmate?" he said. "You came from me and you're sort of like me, but you aren't like me, not really. You feel like my soulmate." So now there were two humans, and such joy the two of them experienced together. They took their model from the Trinity. They saw how the Trinity treated each other, communicating in total love, total respect, total support, total interaction, and Clay and soulmate copied them. They took care of the garden together. They explored the world. They played in the rivers. They enjoyed the endless variety of animals. They never argued about whose turn it was to go clear out the water hole so the animals could drink. They just did it. Every day was a wonderful adventure. Whenever they had a question, they just called on the Trinity. Every evening, at least one of the Trinity would come to talk to the humans in the garden. When they came, they toned down their bright, shining glory, and they kept things very simple. But of course, to Clay and soulmate, the Trinity was still blindingly glorious and amazingly complex. So Clay and soulmate delighted in their beautiful world, their fine home, their animals, the new things they learned every day. They reveled in their relationship with the Trinity, those huge, shining beings that gave off love and life and joy and new ideas whenever they came to visit. And the Trinity delighted in watching soulmate and Clay. They loved seeing how they lived together in total love. They delighted in the way that they were part of, in just a little bit, they were part of the Trinity's circle of communication. And then, of course, one day, as you know the story goes, Clay and soulmate realized they had a choice. Trinity wasn't forcing them to communicate. They didn't have to love the Trinity back. They could ignore the Trinity. They could find out what good and evil was, and so they did. They picked the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and they ate it. They fed some to each other, and you know what? It tasted good. We got a second piece. Halfway through the second piece, as the juice was dribbling down their chins, and the taste sort of turned sour in their mouths. They looked toward each other, and Clay narrowed his eyes. Soulmate was exposed. She was naked. "Hide your body, soulmate," he ordered. "Who are you talking to like that?" she hissed. "Your body's all hanging out there just like mine is." They looked around. The world looked scary. It didn't look comforting and a friendly place anymore. They thought about the Trinity, and now they seemed huge and threatening. They started to shake. They dropped the fruit. They hid in the bushes. They broke off branches and tried to weave them together to hide themselves so they could disappear completely. They had chosen to get acquainted with evil, and ever after, their relationships were defined by fear and guilt and selfishness and conflict. This is not a very good analogy, but let's use this lamp to represent God. It's very far from what is actually real. But God is light. Here's the world that God created. And Adam and Eve, soulmate and Clay, used to be in total, let's see if I can make this phone. I didn't want to damage this thing. They were in total communion with God, but after they ate the fruit, the worst thing that happened was a huge brick wall built up. Their lives became full of pain, suffering. They felt guilty.